Thank you, Senator Cornyn, and thank you for holding this hearing. I think one of the biggest mistakes we could make right now in the history of our country is to not examine this pattern of completely ignoring our laws under one administration, and in fact, not only emboldening and permitting, in fact, funding anarchist behavior under one administration. And then when an administration comes in to try to right the ship, restore the country, repair the damage, we get behavior that is not only obstructionist, subversive, but illegal, all in the name of what? For the life of me, if we want to ensure the devolution of our free state, our free nation, a nation under a rule of law, this is the quickest way to do it. And shockingly, we have not only funded and permitted this type of behavior, we now have lawmakers in Congress, senators, complicit in this, advocating it. As of yesterday, they were putting out a video encouraging government officials to ignore orders. Our enemies, our adversaries across this world are laughing at what is happening right now. And not only are they doing this and encouraging the behavior, they are obstructing us and trying to fix this every step of the way. And it's not just happening in our cities. They just shut down the government for 43 days. Shut it down. And at what point are Americans going to catch on and understand that these are not lawmakers of yore? These are people that are here that do not, in any way, shape, or form, want our country to continue as the country it was founded to be 250 years ago, a nation under a rule of law made by the people, the people's law, and every time they're ordering a government official to ignore it, ignore orders, they're telling them, ignore those that were elected by the people, ignore the law of the people. And so somebody in this place has to call that out, because that is the quickest way to lose this nation. And I want to say thank you for being here today and testifying. We have a law enforcement officer that was on the front lines and I was the Attorney General of Florida, and when the sheriffs came to me and said, the Biden administration is telling us to release people here illegally that are in our jails, they've committed crimes, and instead of taking them from us, as they are required to do under the law, and deporting them back to their home countries so that they can't continue to victimize Americans, they are telling us to release serious felony offenders back into the communities. And so they had to, because Biden was not following the law. And that happened time and time again. Drug traffickers, burglars, people, and did it shock the nation when we kept seeing crimes being committed? If they were paying attention, it shouldn't have, because the sheriffs and law enforcement officers around this nation were being told by the Biden administration to push them back into our communities. Let me tell you another thing that I had to file suit on to get information when we found out. Historically, when we picked up people internationally that were trafficking drugs, killing Americans, when they were brought to our country to be prosecuted and put in prison for that, as soon as they served that sentence, they were deported, because they were picked up in international places, because they were drug traffickers. Who would have ever released them into our country when their only skill is drug trafficking in the middle of a drug crisis? Oh no, the Biden administration did. They started taking federal prisoners in federal prisons for drug trafficking here illegally, and instead of deporting them when their sentences were over, they released them back into your communities in America. And their only skill was pushing drugs into your communities. That's their skill. So thank you for testifying as what was happening. Now we have agents being directed, rightfully so, by this administration to go into communities and arrest those people that are here illegally, that have been committed crimes, many that were forced to be released by the Biden administration. And this is what we get. This is what we get. people threatening, harassing, victimizing law enforcement, trying to go out and arrest those people that the Biden administration pushed into your communities. And it wasn't just when they emptied the jails into your communities or they emptied the federal prisons into your communities. They kept letting everyone just walk into our country, hundreds of thousands of people every month, and push them in mass quotas to release into our country. They called it their discretion to parole. No vetting done. They kept saying, there's nothing happening at the border. Our border is secure. They testified to Congress under oath that our border was secure. And then they blamed Congress that they couldn't do anything else. How long did it take for President Trump to shut down the border? They've released 0 in the last 6 months. Compare those same 6 months to the Biden administration, hundreds of thousands of people pushed into our country, barely vetted. This is what's happening when we're trying to make sure that our communities are safe. That's why I'm introducing an act called the HALO Act, which would give these men and women who took an oath to protect our communities and put American safety ahead of their own, a buffer zone while they do their jobs. They should not have to tolerate this. If they tell someone to step away because they're trying to do their duties, that we as the American people have asked them to do, that we as the American people have asked them to do and put their lives on the line to do, they shouldn't have to deal with this. And I hope every single one of my colleagues understands that without men and women that take that oath and serve on that very thin line, we don't have a country under a rule of law. We ask them to do incredibly dangerous jobs. We could give them the space to do it. I also believe there is absolutely no way that these groups should be funded with American tax dollars. Talk about our adversaries laughing. It's like pouring acid on the fibers that bind us together as a nation, that create that strength. We're now going to take tax dollars and weaken that, going against the men and women trying to ensure safety, funding the people that are threatening and harassing them. Ms. Cathal, I thank you for your testimony. And what you've said today is that American tax dollars have gone to this subversive network. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Ms. Carter-Walters, what you're saying today, and thank you so much for being here today, I have often said that the very people that the folks across the aisle profess to want to protect are the very ones they are hurting with their insane, undermining policies. And it is so refreshing to hear someone, a resident of a place where this is happening, speak out and said, if they were looking out for Americans, the country that they swore to come in and represent the people, and not the criminals, this country would look very different. Thank you for your bravery and your courage to come here today. I don't know if that makes you any more popular in your community, but you're certainly representing what our founders imagined for a nation under a rule of law. And I am grateful to you. Do you believe that federal funding should go to states and cities that are sanctuary cities that refuse to enforce the law and refuse to work with federal law enforcement?
No, I don't believe that. And I just want to say it's not surprising that we don't see no Democrats here, because that's what's happening in Chicago. They don't care about the American citizens or want to hear what we have to say. So thank you for giving us a voice. This right here, what you see, is typical. This is what we deal with in Chicago every day with the Democratic Party.
You know, I think when we watched under President Biden, the man-made disaster, the man-made emergency that was President Biden and his administration, there was such damage, such recklessness, such incredible policies that were forced upon the American people that they didn't want, and they didn't want in their communities. You had states declaring emergencies. And what did that do when the sanctuary states declared emergencies because of what Biden did? They got more federal funding. So you have my commitment. I'm going to work on legislation that would restrict and eliminate federal funding going to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states that will not work with federal men and women of law enforcement, that these states that almost invite a criminal organization to base itself and take over cities and states like you're experiencing right now. You have my commitment. I'm going to file legislation to make sure we put an end to that. And let me just end, and I know, Chairman, I've gone way over my time, but let me just end by thanking you, Sheriff, for your service. My husband is a career law enforcement officer. What they have had to endure over the last 4 years is unconscionable. It's unconscionable that any person in Congress would allow that to happen. I apologize to you. I thank you for your service, and may your commitment to the rule of law and what you expect of this great nation from its leadership and what you expect in terms of its continued strength in the future for the next 250 years, may your service continue to inspire other men and women to follow in your footsteps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank